Right. So since the time is 2:30, we'll start today's session. So I hope you all can see the screen and hear my voice. Right. Okay. So last week, what we discussed was about merge sort. We discussed about the merge sort algorithm and also its complexity. And I also asked you to do an example from merge sort. So I hope you have done that example, and we'll discuss that example today. Then for those who did not understand merge sort algorithm well, if you have still doubts, then you can clarify your doubts uh, using this example. Right. So if you reflect your knowledge that you learned last week, what we were discussing about was, so in merge sort, first you divide the input array or the input sequence and then recursively call merge sort on the left side of the array and for the right side of the divided part. And after that, after merge sort is finished in those two subparts, then they will be merged together using merge operation. And finally, we discussed that for merge sort algorithm, the order of complexity is n times log 2n. So that was what we discussed last week. So when it is given this array, so assume this is the array and I'll name it as A, capital A. So it consists of 5 numbers, A0, A1, A2, A3 and A4. So what we are going to call is merge sort this array, merge sort A. So the first operation within this function is divide. Divide A into two subarrays known as B1 and C1. So how this is how this division does take place, we discussed last time. So there is an integer known as P, uh, which will divide this n minus 1 over 2, its ceil function, and up to that one, it will be the first array known as B1, and the second array is C1. So this has 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. The ceil value of 2 is again 2. So the first set or B1 will have 2 elements and C1 will have the rest of the elements. So this is divided into 2 like this. So after that division operation, then merge sort is called on this B1. Merge sort B1. That is how we studied this algorithm last week. So when this merge sort B1 is called, then it will have its own merge sort function. So it will divide again this one. So I'm using these tabs. This tab, there is one tab with space here. That means this is for this function. That means this indentation is within this function, and this indentation. So there is one tab space between this. So that indicates this divide operation is inside this merge sort B1 operation. So inside this merge sort B1, we first have divide. So it will divide into B2 and C2. So this one size is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. The ceil value of 0.5 is 1. So the first element B2 will have one element, C2 will have again one element. So this will call merge sort on B1. Merge sort, sorry, B2. B2, that means this one. So since the number of elements is 1, nothing will change. So when n is 1 in merge sort, nothing will change. If you can remember last week. So it will again call merge sort on C2. This one, nothing will happen. So after divide, merge sort, the final is, so uh, divide and conquer algorithm. So this is divide, this is conquer. Then final step is combine. So this is merge. Merge B2, C2 back into B1. So how to merge? That one we discussed last time. So I will be initialized to 0. So this is how I describe this one. So I and j will be initialized to 0. And so this element will be compared with this element. So this one is lower. So that one will be set. So now this B1 is 3, 1. So this B1, so this B1 is still 3, 1. So when this is compared, so this is lesser than this one. So B1's first element, so this j will be incremented by 1. J will be incremented by 1. And B1's first element will be 1. Why? So if you can remember the algorithm, you can you must have remembered that it will select the minimum of this element and increment that value. Increment that value. So j is 1, I is equal to 0. So it will be this one. So now this whole array is completely finished. So after that, this one will be appended to this one in the next step. So still we are at this merge operation inside this merge sort B1. Okay, so by this time, we have completed merge sort A's divide operation, merge sort B1, and these three, right? So at the final step, as I told you, so this one is over. So as the next step, when this is over, all of the elements will be added here. So there is only one element. So B1 will be set to 1 and 3. So now B1 is over. So this merge sort, this merge operation is over. So this merge sort B1 is also over. So if you can guess, so the next step will be merge sort B1 is over. Next step will be merge sort C1. Now we'll go for merge sort C1. So you can see these are in same line. That means these belong to merge sort A. These belong to merge sort A. So still we are in merge sort A. So that is the ultimate target we have. We have to sort this A. So B1 is sorted. That means this one is sorted. So the next one is merge sort C1. So C1 is this one. So it was formed when this array A was divided. C1 was formed. This C1 was formed when A was divided. A was divided as B1 and C1. This C1 came from that division. That means the right side array. So it will be taken and merge sort C1 will be called. When merge sort C1 will be called, then these 4 operations inside that one again take place. That's why it is called a recursive algorithm. So first it will divide C1. Divide C1 into 2 sub arrays known as B3 and C3. How to divide? There are 3 elements. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So B3 will have 1 element and C3 will have 2 elements. So B3 will have this element and C3 will have 6 and 7. So again, merge sort B3 will be called, but there is only one element, nothing will happen. Then merge sort C3 will be called. Merge sort C3 will be called, but you can see there are 2 elements. So since there are 2 elements, So this inside this merge sort C3, again, these four should happen. So inside C merge sort C3, you must divide this C3 again into 2. So inside this one, merge sort C3, you have to divide C3 into two subarrays known as B4 and C4. So they are nothing but these two elements separately. C4 equals 6. Sorry, B4 equals 6, C4 equals 7. Right, so again you have to call merge sort B4 and merge sort C4. But merge sort B4 will make no change as there is only one element, and merge sort C4 will also not make any change. So it will be as it is, as there is only one element, C4 equals 7. But at last, the merge operation, that means this B4 and C4 will be again combined to form C3. So in this merge operation, so I'm not going to describe how I and J is set and again how this is formed. So how you can imagine when first I will be equal to 0, J will be equal to 0, and this is compared with this, so that C3's first element will be this one. Then again, then this is already finished. Then the rest of the elements will be added here. So that is, so now this merge sort C3 also over. Merge sort C3 is also over. So in order to finish merge sort C1, the final operation is merge B3 and C3 into C1. So B3 is this one, C3 is this one. So B3 is 2, C3 is this one. So the final step of this merge sort C1 is merging this one. So how to merge? So again, this will be I is equal to 0. This J will be equal to 0 here. So when these two are compared, 2 will be added here. Then this is over. Then 6 and 7 will be appended at the end, as we discussed last week. So now this merge sort C1 also finished. Merge sort B1 is also finished. So the final step is merge B1 and C1 again back into A. B1 and C1 again back into A. So B1, so this will be the last step. B1, okay, sorry, I have made a mistake here. So this should be C1. So this should be C1. So B1 is this one, which was formed here by this merge operation. C1 is this one, which we formed immediately before, and they should be combined or merged to form A. So we should get B1 again. So B1 we merged previously as this one, and this one we now created. So now we will discuss how this merge operation occurs, to get if there are some students who still don't understand about how this merge operation works. So I and j will be initialized to 0. So first this element is compared with this element. So what is the lowest one? It will be 1. So A's array A first element will be 1, and this will be, so array A, the initial array is something like this. This is the original array which was given for us to sort. So what will happen? So we have merge sort B1 and merge sort C1 to get these two, 1, 3 and 2, 6, 7. So the final step is merge B1 and C1 back to A. B1 and C1 back to A. So this is the final step. So in that one, we have two variables I and j. So this is compared and the first element. Okay, so this is the first step. The first element of array A will be set to 1 and this will be incremented by 1. So this I will be become 1. So in the next step, what will be compare this element and this element. That means B1 1 and C1 0. So it is here 2 is less than 3. So the second element will come here. So that is the next step. The second element of array A will become this, right? So the next step is now it will j will become 1. So this and this will be compared. So this is smaller, 3 is smaller. So array A's third element will become 3, So after that, this I will become 2. When I will become 2, it will be equal to B1's length. B1 dot length is equal to 2 and I is also equal to 2. Then that means this is over. Then what we are left to do is just so add this 6 and 7 here. In merge operation, when one array is full, we wrote in our pseudocode a for loop to append from this j value until up to this C1's length. That means 6 and 7 will be added here. Next step, as this is over, as this has reached its length. So 6 and 7 will be added here. So now you can see this array is sorted. Right, so this is how this merge sort algorithm is working. So you can see inside this big merge sort A. So what we did up to this one was we merge sort A. So you can see it's divide operation, merge sort, and merge. But inside these merge sorts, there were sub functions. So it has to call its own merge sort here. Here again, its own merge sort, and even inside that one, you may have another merge sorts which will go through all of these 4 steps. So you have to finish those steps and come back. Then this will be over. Then after that, these 4 will be over. Then only this merge sort C1 will be over. Likewise, you have to go step by step. So that this is how merge sort is going to operate. So I think so with regard to merge sort, you are clear. So I have taught the algorithm and the complexity last week. So in this week, we discuss an example. So that is all what we have to discuss on merge sort. So today we will be discussing a new algorithm for merging, that is quick sort, known as quick sort. So this will be our today's algorithm. So what is different with respect to the previous algorithm? So it was merge sort. Merge sort is, in merge sort, there are basically 3 steps. So if you can observe here, there is a division operation, divide operation, then conquer. So conquer is calling this recursively, this function again recursively call for divided subarrays, that is known as conquering. So divide, conquer, that means calling this again, and at last combine, merge. So what is different about quicksort is there is both divide and conquer, but there is no merge. In quicksort, there is no merge. So that is the difference in quicksort. So this is only a divide and conquer algorithm, but there is no merge operation. That means combining operation of that one. Combining will automatically take place, or some kind of sorting takes place inside the division operation. So in merge sort, it just intersect the input array into two parts in the division operation of merge sort. In the division operation of merge sort, what happened was the input array was just bisected or intersected into two parts. There was no change of elements. The elements were not rearranged in the division or the divide part of the merge sort algorithm. But in contrast, in quicksort, inside the division operation, there is some kind of a sorting takes place inside division operation. So because of that, because of this interchange or the sorting which occurs within the division, there is no need of merge operation for quicksort. So we'll have a look at how this quicksort algorithm works. So the first task is looking at the pseudocode before going for an example. Right. So just like the merge sort algorithm, the quicksort is also does not return anything. So the return type of quicksort is also void. It means it does not return anything. And this is the name of the function quicksort. And it has three arguments. Three input arguments are there here in quicksort. So capital A represents the input array. Capital A represents the input array. So A is input array. L is the initial index of the input array. So for example, if A has index, that means the array index running from 0 to 5. So for example, if you take A as this, if you take A as this, so if you take A as this is the A0 element, and this is the A1 element, this is A2 element, this is A3, this is A4. So what I mean by L is the lower index. The lower index is 0 here. Lower index is 0. The upper index is 4. That means L equals 0, U equal 4 for this particular array. If A is equal to this one, then L is equal to 0, U is equal to 4. That means lower and the upper limit of the array index. In other words, that is that one. That means L and U, L is the lowest index and U is the upper index of this particular array, capital A. So if you give this kind of an array, what it will do is, so I told you this is only divide and conquer operation. So for this division operation, I will call it not like as it is not only involved with division only. That means intersection of the input array into two. So in merge sort we call it divide. That is just divide into two. But we will call it here partition. So all of these actions, just like in merge sort, will be done if the lowest index is less than the upper index. That means in the previous example that I told you, L is equal to 0, U is equal to 4. So 0 is less than 4. Okay, then it will work. But when the, for example, if the element size, if the element size is 1, just like in this example, if quicksort is given this kind of array as input, so what will be the L and U values of this? So here L is equal to 0 because there is only one element here. So it only has B3 inside square brackets 0. So the only index it has is 0. So then L is equal to 0, U is also equal to 0. So then L and U both will be 0. Then L is equal to 0 and U is equal to 0. Then L is equal to U. Then quicksort will not occur. Just like merge sort, when the array size is 1, when array size is 1, or in other words a dot length is 1, it did not work. So this is another way of writing it. If L is less than U, that means lowest index is less than U, this will occur when the array size is 1. If if it is equal, it will not quicksort, otherwise it will quicksort. So what is happening is, so I told you the division operation is called partition. So it is not only division, but also some kind of rearrangement also takes place inside this partition function. So the same arguments which were input to this quicksort will be input into this partition function also. The input array, left index, and the upper index, right? So there is a return type of this partition function. It will also return an integer. So this integer, we must store that the returning integer value of this function partition inside this integer q. So this integer q is going to store the returning value given by this partition. So what will this partition function do is it will divide and do some rearrangement to this input array, and also at the end it will return or give out some integer, and in here we are calling this function, we are calling this partition function. When called, and at the end it will return an integer, that integer value will be stored in q. So I will also write a pseudocode for this partition function after describe this quicksort function in abstract or in high level. So after I finish this, finish describing this quicksort, I will go into details of implementation of this partition function. For the moment, don't worry about partition function. So it is nothing but a rearranging and dividing function which will give out an integer known as q. So based on this q value, so we are going to conquer. So in conquer operation, so this is a divide and conquer algorithm. So in the conquer operation, as I have explained you in the merge sort also, what will be done? This quicksort will be called recursively. That means called inside this quicksort again. That is known as recursion. Quicksort will be called again inside this function, but with not with these arguments, but a smaller set of arguments. That's why we divided or partitioned this A into two parts. So for which values we will use quicksort? We will use quicksort not for the whole array. So this array capital A runs from the array index L to U. Array index L to U. For example, in the previous example, this will run from 0 to 4. But based on this integer which was returned from this partition function that we stored in Q. So this quick sort, first part of the quick sort will be occurring for this array for the same input sequence from the lowest index up to Q minus 1. That means this return value minus 1. And the second part will run for the same array A from Q plus 1 into U. From Q plus 1 until this U. That means the qth element of this array A will not be quick sorted. So there is an input array running from L to U. For example, say 0 to 4. Okay. And assume that this partition function return the integer as 2. Let Q be equal to, then quick sort first part will be for this array A from 0 to 2 minus 1 is 1. From 0 to 1, there will be a one quick sort will be occurring. That means quick sort will be occurring from, I'm taking an example from 0 to 1. And the second part, the quick sort will be taken for the same array from Q plus 1. So if Q is equal to 2, that will be 3 to 4. 3 to 4 here is equal to 0 to 1. But the second element, A2, A square bracket 2 element is not quick sorted. So that is another difference between quick sort and merge sort. In merge sort, all the input elements were recursively merge sorted. In merge sort, all the input elements of this input array is recursively merge sorted in merge sort. But in here, from L to Q minus 1, first quick sort will take place, and from Q plus 1 up to the last element or the upper element of this input array, the second quick sort will take place. The qth element will not be quick sorted. So that this is the whole algorithm of quick sort. As I told you, there is no merge or combine operation. But you should note that this array A, which was input to this partition, is not the same array you get here, because inside this partition function there is, as I told you, there is a rearranging take place. So the elements which are coming here for this quick sort is not same as the elements that were initially given to this partition function. You will understand that one when we discuss the implementation of this partition function. So in high level or in abstract, this is the algorithm of quicksort, right? So when the input array size is greater than 1, or when L is less than U, it will partition and then call quicksort for two separate parts of that partition array, except the qth element of the array. Right, now we'll have a look at the partition function. So what is partition function? It is this function. So we implemented it here, or we called it here. So this is how we define that function. This is the partition function's definition. So here the return type is integer. Why? Because we stored this one's return type in integer q. So it should have a return type. So its return type is integer. This is the name of the partition function, and these are the arguments. So the same arguments for quick sort is there in partition function. Okay, we'll see what this does. So in here, what does happen is, first it will declare an integer known as pivot. Integer known as pivot. So I'll declare it as integer. So it is an integer. So we'll declare an integer known as pivot, and it will be initialized to the last element. So a square bracket u refers to the last element because this is the uppermost index of this input array A. So this pivot will be set as the last element of this input array. Pivot is set as the last element. Then we declare two integers known as I and j, and I will be initialized to the lowest element. I will be initialized to the lowest element, and j will be initialized to the element before the last element. That means the index of the one before the last. So the last index is u. J will be set not to the u but u minus 1. That means last element index minus 1 is j. The first element or the lowest element index is set to I. So these are the first initializations that we do. And after that we will continue while j is greater than I. While j is greater than I. So obviously if the array A, for example in the previous example L was 0, u is 4, so 4 minus 1 is 3, so j is 3, L is 0, so 3 is greater than 0. So in the first step it will continue. So we always compare both a ith element and a jth element. What is a ith element in the first step? A ith element is when I is equal to L, a ith element is first element. So if it is less than the value of the pivot, so this should not be pivot, this should be value at the pivot. Yes, sorry. So I have initialized pivot as the value at the pivot, sorry, value at the last element. So we can directly change this one. We can directly change this one, right? So no need to swap this one. So pivot I have set as the value at the last element, and these are the index of the first and one before the last. So what it does is, if the value at the leftmost element is less than this pivot value, then it will increment the index. I plus plus is increment. Otherwise, if this is not true, it will go for jth element. J is the rightwards element, but not rightmost. Rightmost is the pivot. It will select the jth element and check whether it is greater than the pivot value. Pivot value is initialized as the last element value. If it is greater than the pivot value, then it will decrease. It will decrease the index value. That means j value. So j value for this example, j value is 3. If uh, A3, if A3 is greater than the pivot element. So the best way to explain this partitioning, how this partitioning works, is by an example. So with this code, it is difficult to explain how this one works, but with example, you will understand what is the purpose of actually doing this, right? So what we are going to do is, if this is not true, if the rightwards element is greater than pivot, then we are going to decrease that index value. So this I and j stands for array indexes. So we are going to decrease that one. If both of these are false, if both of these are false, right? What is done is, so if these both of these false are false, we can use else if. So if this is false, this will be checked. If this is also false, this will be checked. That's why we use if else if structure. Otherwise, all of these conditions will be checked. So in here, if this is false, this is checked. If this is also false, this will be checked. So automatically, when these both fail, this uh, should this should pass, right? Okay. So when this is checked, that means the other way. If AI is greater than pivot and both AJ is also less than pivot, then what we are going to do is we are going to swap AI and AJ, values in AI and AJ, not the indices. We are going to swap the values such that in the next step, one of these will be true. So if we swap this one, so for example, if AI is greater than pivot and AJ is less than pivot, when we swap that, then AI will be less than pivot. So in the next iteration, this will be true. So we are doing that for that purpose. If these are like that one, we are going to swap this one, such that in the next iteration, this will be true. So there is a small mistake here. So this, we should also check the equal condition, because if there is an equal element, so it will be not checked. So it will be not less than, it is not greater than, it is also not greater than and less than. So we must check for the initial equal condition also. Right now it's okay. So now all conditions are checked. If this is the other way of these two, if this is the other way of these two, this will be swapped like this. And this will be done until, only until j is greater than 1. You can see, so here in our example, I is 0, j is 3. So when this I keep on increasing, like it will become, for example, say 2, and j is decreasing. J can decrease from 3 to 2. So j can decrease from 3 to 2. I can increase from 0 to 2. So in that case, if such a case occurs, then this condition is not satisfied, then this loop will terminate. So we will run this loop only until I is equal to j. Only until I is equal to j. And at last, so when this has been done, what we are going to do is we again check whether the pivot value, that means this last element value, is less than AI. AI is the value of the current I value. So this I may be increased. For example, say it is now increased to 2. So A2 will be checked against A4. If A4 is less than A2, then we should again swap pivot and AI. We should again swap pivot and AI if the pivot value is less than the left side. So what we are going to do in this partition algorithm is, in this partition algorithm, so we select a pivot value. Pivot value is the last element value. We put the values less than the pivot value or the last element value towards the left side of the array, or array name is A. So towards the left side of, or in other words, towards lower indices of the array A, we try to keep values less than or equal to pivot values. We put values less than or equal to pivot values towards left side of the array, and we try to put values greater than the pivot value towards right side of the pivot value, towards right side of the pivot value. So at when this loop terminates, I and j will be equal to one value, and we compare that value which that I and j value is equal. So by when this loop terminates, I and j will be same, and at that particular value, if that is greater, we must swap the pivot value with that. That means we bring the last element or the pivot value we set initially to that place. That means if for example, say this is I is equal to 2, I is equal to, so we make A2 equal AU. That means we swap. So we swap A2 and A4. So after doing this one, you will see A3, A4, both values, that means the values towards the right side of the array, A3 and A4 are greater than A2. So after swapping this one, A3 and A4 are greater than A2, and the values towards the left side of the array, that means A0 and A1 will be lesser than A2, or the new pivot value. A0 and A1 will be lesser than the pivot value, and A3 and A4 will be greater than the pivot value. So the A2, so at last, so there is a rearranging. So this has definitely rearranged the array. So here in this case, if this happens, it will swap AI and AJ. So there is a rearranging of elements. And at last, if the pivot value is less than this AI value, again it will swap. So that means the input array A is not the same array again. So in the previous operation, as I told you here, after partitioning this A, the one that you get to quick sort as here A, this is not the same A that you get here. That is a rearranged version of this input array A, because there are a couple of swap operations. There are a couple of swap operations which can take place based on the values of the array. In that case, this may not be the same array here. It can be in some cases, but it will most probably not be this one. Right. So what is this queue? So that is that queue. So we discussed up to this point. So at last it will be swapped, and it will at last should return this I value. So in this operation, I will be incremented and j will be decreased. At one point, I will be equal to j, and that I value should be returned. That I value will be nothing but the new pivot value. the index of the new pivot, this I, because if the pivot value is less than AI, we are going to swap that one, then that will become the new pivot, and that we return. For example, if I is incremented to 2 and stop here, then we return 2. Then we return 2 such that the first quick sort will take place from, for the array A, from 0 to 2 minus 1, 1. That means A0 to A1. A0 and A1 will be quick sorted in the first quick sort, and in the second quick sort, this is 2 plus 1, 3, 3 and 4. The elements 3 and 4 will be quick sorted in the second quick sort, and the Q value is 2 here. A2, A square bracket 2 will not be quick sorted. So that is how this partitioning of the quick sort operation works. So there is interchanging of elements if these conditions become true. So there is a rearrangement, and there is a value which is returned, which is based on. So based on that value returned, the next quick sort or the sub quick sort, which are the recursive quick sorts in the same quick sort, or in other words, the conc operation takes place based on that returned value from this partition function, right? So based on that return value of the partition function, these quick sorts will be taken place. So that is how the quick sort algorithm takes place. You may not have got a clear pictorial understanding about the algorithm yet. With a graphical example, you will be able to understand this algorithm more than this, but have an understanding about the pseudocode. So keep this in mind, and then with the example you will understand what is the use of this pivot and what are the use of these array indices. What is the use of array indices and what is the use of pivot. Right. So after learning about the algorithm, the next step in order to go forward in this quick sort algorithm is to understand about the complexity. So in quick sort, there are two main functions, the partition function and the quick sort function itself. So first we'll have some kind of analysis about the partition function. So in partition function, you can see there are 3 instructions here, and this will run this. So this, the complexity is 3. Here 3, and this will run from 0 to some value, and this will run from u minus 1 to that value. So in all together, so at one time, only one of these will be true, only one of them will be true, or at one time. So the total will have the size of the array. So what is the size of this array? If you have L equals 0 and U is equal to 4, the size of the array is U minus L plus 1. Why? So if, for example, if you have 4 and 0 here, 4 minus 0 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That means you can get the size of the array or the number of elements of the array by this equation, U minus L plus 1, uppermost index minus lowermost index plus 1. So U minus L plus 1 I'll get as N. U minus L plus 1 I'll get as N. So this is having theta n complexity, because altogether it will run in the order of n. and this one will occur only one time. And if this is true, this will also occur, and this will definitely occur. So this has the maximum order of again 3, 3, 3, n. So n plus 6, n plus 6, again it will be theta n. So the order of n plus 6 is n. N plus 6 order is again n, because the 6 is a constant term, so it has less effect when n approaches infinity. When n approaches infinity, the value 6 has less significance. So in the asymptotic analysis, n plus 6 has the order of theta n in asymptotic analysis, which we discussed a few weeks back. So as a whole, this partitioning function has n order, theta n, complexity. So we can write a piecewise function just like we wrote for merge sort. So if you can have a look at this, the initial algorithm, if L is equal to U, or in other words, the size of this array is 1. If L equal U, then none of this will take place, only this will be checked. So there is only one instruction which takes place. So the order of the execution time, running time, is n. Sorry, 1. Order of running time is 1. So theta 1, if L is equal to U, the complexity is theta 1. If L is equal to U, the complexity is theta 1. Because there is only one condition is checked, no internal instruction will take place, because when L is equal to U, it will not do anything. But if U is greater than L, it should do the partitioning, the first quick sort operation, and this is the second quick sort operation. So I represent in capital T, the running time of the quick sort of size n, simple n, U minus, if quick sort of U minus L plus 1 is represented in capital T, and part PART, this one is the complexity of the partitioning function, and these two are the sub quick sort functions within this quick sort function. So in other words, these are nothing but, so the first is for this one, the second is for this one, third is for this one. So if you can see how you get the number of elements of an array is by U minus L plus 1. So if you get the size of this one, it will be Q minus 1 minus L plus 1. That means Q minus L. This will be Q minus L. The size of this one will be U minus Q plus 1 plus 1. Again, it will be U minus Q. So the size of this quick sort array is U minus Q. The size of this quick sort array is Q minus L. That's why the quick sort of U minus L plus 1 will have a partition of size U minus L plus 1, and the first quick sort will have of size Q minus L. The second quick sort will have of size Q minus Q, that I just explained a moment ago. So this is of size Q minus L, this is U minus Q, this is U minus L plus 1. You can obviously see if Q is some value, then these two will be, each of these two will be less than this one. unless q is equal to 0, unless it is q is not equal to L. If q is equal to u or L, then one of them will be 0 and one of them will be only one less than this one. That is in extreme cases. So this is the complexity. So I have considered u minus L plus 1 equal to n. I have considered u minus L plus 1 as n. So I can rewrite this again in terms of n, but we must consider what is the worst case and what is the best case. So in all other previous algorithms, including the bubble sort, the selection sort, the insertion sort, so in all of those algorithms, the best case was when the array is already sorted. When the array is already sorted was the best case. The worst case was the array in the reverse order or in descending order. When the array is in descending order, it was the worst case. But for quicksort, if the array is completely in descending order, or even if the array is in the correct order, if the input array is in the correct ascending order, or that means if we are given the solution that we want from the quicksort, that means the whole input array in ascending order, it will have the highest complexity. So the worst case is when the input array is completely in descending order. So when the input array is completely in descending order, Q will be L. Why? So what is Q? Q is the one which is given out from this partition function. If so, Q, the pivot value is selected as the value at the last, and all other elements will be compared with that pivot value. If in a descending order array, or an array ordered in descending order, all the left side elements will be larger. All the left side elements will be larger than the rightmost element. All the elements in the left will be larger than the rightmost elements. So in that case, what is done is, so the Q will be equal to L. That means Q will be set as the first of this input array. Q will be set as L if the array is in descending order. That means so if the last element is selected, so you can imagine about the partition. The last element will be selected and those are checked against all the elements. So when that is checked, the last element, the pivot, the AJ will be always greater than the pivot value. AJ will be always greater than pivot value. Then that means J will be decremented always. J will be decremented. I will not be incremented. So J will run from U minus 1 up to L. J will run up to L, and at last L will be returned. So L will be Q. The Q value will be L in a descending order array. So similarly, if the input array is in ascending order, the Q will be U, the last index of the input array. Q will be U. In that case, if Q is equal to U, this will be 0 and this will be equal to U minus L. So that means this is, if U minus L plus 1 is N, this will be N minus 1. So this is Tn minus 1, this will be T0. So this is how we can simplify that part. So if this or this happens, one of them will be 0 and other one will be u minus L. So this will be partition u minus L plus 1. So one of them will be 0. So this is in worst case. The worst case is one of, even if the input array is in ascending order, or even if the input array is in descending order, that will be the worst case, because Q will be set as one of the extreme values. The extreme indexes of the input array is L and U. If the array is in descending order, L will be set as the Q. If the array is in ascending order, U will be set as Q. So in that case, what will happen at last is one of these quick sorts, the complexity will be 0 and the other's complexity will be U minus L. U minus L means N minus 1. So that is the next simplification. So T0 is 0. U minus L means T N minus 1. So this will be Tn. This will be theta 1. So the complexity of the whole algorithm is reduced to this one. If U is equal to L, it will be, sorry, theta 1, it means only 1. If in the worst case, it will reduce to theta n plus Tn minus 1. So we can write this one recursively. So the next step is theta n minus 1 plus Tn minus 2. So for Tn minus 2, we can write again theta n minus 2 plus Tn minus 3. So for Tn minus 3, we can write again theta n minus 3 plus Tn minus 4. So likewise, we can write this one recursively until U is equal to L. So we will simplify that step. So by writing recursively for this one, for Tn minus 1, we can write recursively. So the first we can write theta n minus 1 plus Tn minus 2. For Tn minus 2, we can write theta n minus 2 plus Tn minus 4. Likewise, we can write up to theta 2 plus T. So the next one will be T1. So T1 is coming when U is equal to L. So it will be this one, theta 1. So as a whole, by combining this one and this one, we can write for all U values. So U is equal greater than L, this one, U is equal to L, this one. So as a whole, we can write the complexity by adding them together. So it will be this one, addition of these two. So now I'm going to simplify like this one. So we are going to get the first term and last term added together. Then this one and this one added together. This one and the next one added together. So that's why theta n plus theta 1, theta n minus 1 plus theta 2, theta n over 2 plus at last theta n over 2 plus theta n over 2 minus 1. So theta n plus theta 1 is having order of theta n. This is also same, theta n minus 1 plus theta 2 is having order of theta n. So at last there will be n by 2 times theta n elements. So it will be n by 2 times theta n times elements. So there will be this n by 2 times theta n elements if you complete this one. So here we are going to like something like divide this one into 2. So theta n plus theta 1 is having theta n. So this will be again theta n. At last this will be again theta n, right? So there will be n by 2 times theta n. So when this is multiplied, we get the complexity of Tn as theta n squared in worst case. in worst case. So what is the worst case? Worst case is either the input array is in completely ascending order or completely in descending order. So even if the input array is in ascending order or in descending order, the complexity is worse. That means it is high. So what is the best case then? The best case is the case when the input is mixed. That means it is not in ascending order or it is not either in descending order. That means there is a mix of ascending and descending order. That is the best case. So if we take, so the Q will be L if it is in descending order, Q will be equal to U if it is in ascending order. If in the best case, that means in the case where the input array is not ordered either in ascending order or descending order, we will get in the partition function Q as U plus L divided by 2. That is, Q will be set in the middle. Q value will be middle. That means some set of values towards left of Q will be less than the value at Q, and other values, the right side values of the Q will be greater than the value at Q value. That is the ideal case or the best case. That means if there is a mix of ascending and descending order sequence in input array, that means the input array is not in ascending or descending order, both not in ascending or descending order, that is the best case. So we will now discuss about the best case of, so this is the general equation for quicksort that we derived earlier. So what will be the best case? So in the best case, we say the input is averagely sorted. That means it is not descending or ascending. It is a mix. In that case, we get Q as L plus U divided by 2. We get Q as L plus U divided by 2. That means the Q will be at somewhere middle of the input array. In the partition function, the partitioning will be, it will be divided into two sets. One set towards left of Q value will have values lower than the value at Q. Towards right will have values higher than the value at Q. Right? Okay. So so we'll discuss what is the best case. So in that case, we can simplify this one, the same equation. Theta 1 is unchanged. This is partition U minus L plus 1. And when you substitute this Q value here, L plus U divided by 2, you will get U minus L over 2. For both of these two, you will get U minus L divided by 2. So it will be twice T times U minus L divided by 2. So you can substitute and see. If you substitute L plus U divided by 2, it will be U minus L divided by 2. Okay. So now we'll get the complexity of this one. We'll simplify in terms of N. So N is equal to U minus L plus 1. So you can substitute N here. This is almost equal to N by 2. So you can omit plus 1. So this is almost equal to T N by 2. When N is high, the significance of this plus 1 is negligible. So U minus L, you can consider it as T N by 2. T N by 2. So 2 times T N by 2. This one. Right. So now we can write a recursive equation like previous. So theta n plus 2 T N by 2. So T N by 2 can be write as theta n by 2 plus 2 T N by 4. Likewise, we can continue the recursion like previous. So by continuing the regression, we'll get some expression like this: 2 times theta n by 2 plus 4 times theta n by 2 until the theta is equal to 1, n times theta n by n, right? So the whole complexity can be written like this one. So this simplification I did in the merge sort complexity analysis. So how we can get this? So 2 times theta n by 2 has the order of theta n. 4 times theta n by 4, this whole term has the order of theta n. So this is also having theta n order. So there will be theta n terms, but theta n, so log 2 n values of theta n. So if you get the sum, the number of theta n values. So this is a theta n, this will be a theta n, this will be a theta n. Likewise, there will be log 2 n times theta n. So this is the conclusion. So when the input array is averagely sorted, the complexity is log 2 n times theta n. But when the input is either in ascending order or descending order, the complexity is a theta n square. Log 2 n times theta n, the complexity, so it is less than theta n square. You can get the calculator and see for large values of n, log 2 n times n, that means n times log 2 n is less than n squared. So that means the quicksort will take less time when the input array is averagely sorted. So when the input array is averagely sorted, it is having a good complexity. That means a reduced complexity. So in most cases, the input array is averagely sorted. The input array is usually averagely sorted. We don't give an input array either in descending order or in ascending order. That is less probable. So the highest probable one is averagely sorted. So that's why this quick sort, that's why it is called quick sort. So the usual case is averagely sorted array. So since the quick sort is fast for averagely sorted array, it is known as quick sort. That's why it is called quick sort. As most of the input arrays are averagely sorted, and the quick sort algorithm is fast. As you can see here, it is having theta n times log 2n. So that means you can write at last, it is in the order of n times log 2n. Order of n times log 2n. So this is less than theta n squared. N times log 2n is less than theta n squared. So it is having lesser complexity, or the less time is consumed for sorting out an averagely sorted array. So that's why it is called the quick sort. So in the merge sort also, you got a similar complexity for any kind of array, for not averagely sorted or ascending or descending. The merge sort, it does not matter. The complexity was always theta n times log 2n, but in quick sort, it will get for averagely sorted, and for ascending and descending, it will get n square, right? So this is the asymptotic complexity analysis for quick sort. So the next thing that is remaining to discuss about quick sort is understanding the algorithm of the quick sort using an example. So if any one of you couldn't imagine what was going through the algorithm of quick sort, it is the time for you to grab now using this example. So we'll take the same input array that we use for merge sort using quick sort also. We'll sort the same input array, this one, 3, 1, 2, 6, 7. Right. So what was the first step? First step is calling this quick sort. Quick sort A. What is L? L is 0. U is 4 because this runs from the array index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. L is 0, U is 4. So since L is greater than U, it will call first partition A 0, 4. Okay, so this is the best opportunity to understand about the partitioning function. So what happened in the partition function? Partition function, first of all, a pivot value was set as the last element. Okay, the pivot value is set as the last element and I will be initialized to L. In the algorithm or pseudocode, I said that I will be initialized to L. So L is 0. Now here J will be initialized to U minus 1. U minus 1. U is here 4. U minus 1 is 3. That means J will be set to the index 1 less than the pivot. Pivot is this value, A4. A4 is equal to A4 is equal to pivot. That means 7 is equal to pivot. And J equal 3, I equal 0. That is the first step of this algorithm. Then we will move into the while loop. So now we are going to move into the, so if I show you the partition algorithm. So I am describing, I said that pivot will be equal to the last element. I will be equal to the first element, index of the first element. J will be equal to the one index of the element before last. And now we are going to inside this while loop. First, we are going to check whether AI is less than or equal to pivot. If so, we are going to increase it by 1. And we check if that is not true, we check whether AJ is greater than pivot. If that is the case, we decrease. Otherwise, if these both true are not true, we are going to swap and don't increment or decrement I or J and come back until we do that, until J is equal to I. Then that thing we are going to do. Okay, these are initialized. And then inside the while loop, so what will be checked? We check whether AI is less than pivot. AI is what? A0. A0 is 3. Pivot is 7. 3 or A0 is less than 7. So it is true. That means we increment the value of I. So now I is 1. So we incremented the value of I. Again, in the next iteration or in the next step, because this was true, it will not check AJ. It will not check AJ because this was true. Again, in the second step, it will check 1 against pivot value. A1 is 1 less than 7. Again true. So that means this will be incremented to 2. In the next step, will be incremented to 2. Again, in the next iteration, it will check A2. A2 is 2. 2 is less than 7, the pivot value. That means I should be incremented 1. That means now in this step, I is equal to J. That means it should go out of the loop. Now it will return from the loop. That means loop is over. Now the value of I is 3. I is equal to 3 now. I is equal to 3. Now it will check whether AI is greater than the pivot value. So that's what I think I have written. So if it will check whether AI is greater than, yes, it will check whether the current value of I is 3. It will check whether A3 is greater than pivot. If A3 is greater than pivot, then it should swap, exchange. Here, now I is equal to 3, A3 is 6, 6 is not greater than 7, so it will not swap, and what it will return? It should return I. I is here 3, I is here 3. So the Q value out of this partition function will be 3. So what will be the values of next quick sort operations if this is 3? So that quick sort must be, so now these two are over. So the next should be quick sort A. Because we got Q equal 3, we should go from L to Q minus 1. L is 0, Q minus 1 is 2. Say L is 0, Q minus 1 is 2. So we should do quick sort A 0 2. So what this is A. We are now going to do quick sort for A 0 2. So now we should go again from beginning. Now we have to partition A0 2 inside this quick sort. So that's why I have written this with the tab. Now we are inside this first quick sort A02. So inside that A02, we have to call this partition A02. So according to the algorithm of partition, what should happen? A02. Now L is equal to 0, U is equal to 2. So what will be the I, J and pivot values? Pivot value is the last element, A2. A2 is 2. Pivot is equal to 2 here. I will be set to L value. L is 0. That means I is 0. J is equal to U minus 1. Here U is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So J is set to 1. J is set to 1. Now we have to go inside that while loop. While J greater than I. Okay, J is 1, I is 0. So okay, J is greater than 1. So it will check whether AI is less than pivot. Is AI less than pivot? No. A0 is 3, pivot is 2. So 3 is not less than 2. So it will not be satisfied. Then we have the else if. We have else if AJ greater than pivot. We'll check whether AJ is 1, pivot is 2. AJ is also not greater than 2. So the second condition is also false. AI is not less than 2. AJ is not greater than 2. And we have now checked the third condition. Third condition is what? AI is greater than pivot. Yes. And AJ is less than pivot. Yes. Okay. Now the third condition is satisfied. So what according to third condition? The third condition says if it is satisfied, we have to swap this 1 and 3. Third condition means this one. So this one failed. AI is greater than pivot. This one also failed. AJ was less than pivot. So this is fail. This is fail. But this is true. AI is greater than pivot and AJ is less than pivot. So we have to swap AI and AJ. Now we are in this step. So since AI is greater than 2 and AJ is less than 2, we had to swap AI with AJ. Swapped. Then we have to go again. Still I is less than J. So we have to again go back to while loop. Then check whether AI is less than pivot. Yes. Now it's okay. Now AI is 1, 1 is less than 2. Then I will be incremented to 1. So in the next step, I will be incremented to 1. Now I is equal to j. So the while loop will terminate. And the last condition will be checked whether AI is greater than pivot. Yes. Here you can see AI is 3, pivot is 2. So AI is greater than pivot. So we have to swap these two. So at last, the pivot will be 2 and this one will be 3. So what happened at last? So the input array was this 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and the final array was 1, 2, 3. So you can see the pivot, as I explained before, but what happened in partitioning was this. So from the beginning 2 was the pivot, still 2 is the pivot, at last also 2 is the pivot. What happened was, so you can see towards left of the pivot, values are less than pivot. Towards right of the pivot, value is greater than pivot. So in partitioning, what is done is, so there is a value known as q. So here what is q? Q is the value of I here. So it will return I. I is 1. Q is 1. So the value at 1 is 2. Values less than, that means the index array indices less than that one. That means A1 will have lesser values than this one. It is true because this one is less than 2. And towards right side of the pivot, values are greater than pivot. So that's what happened in partition. So inside this one, we ran the partition. So after partition, we get q equal 1. So inside this quick sort, we have to call the quick sort again for. So now I have written it here, quick sort in the same line. That means inside this function, quick sort A 0, q minus 1, q is 1, q minus 1 is 0, A 0, 0. That means we are calling quick sort on this one. There is only one element, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Same is for the right side also. We have to call quick sort A. This will be q plus 1. Q plus 1 is 2 and q plus 1, and this will be u. U is 2. Q plus 1 is also 2. U is also 2. U is equal to L. So nothing happens. So quick sort A22 means this element. So nothing happens. So partition quick sort, that means this quick sort is over. So one quick sort of this original quick sort is over. That means here we got q as 3. Here in this partition we got q as 3. So quick sort A from 0 to q minus 1, 3 minus 1 is 2 is now over. 1 is over, but we are remained with another quicksort of this function. So now we have finished this partition quicksort, and we are left with another quicksort, that is from A, q plus 1. Q was 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, and in this one, u is 4. Q plus 1 is also 4, u is 4. So what is that element? That is 7. That is 7. So u is equal to L, nothing happens. U is equal to L, nothing happens. So now the input array is completely sorted. So that is how the quicksort algorithm is functioning. So I hope you have understood the algorithm. So to understand the algorithm, you should understand the partition algorithm. Partition, how this partition takes place, how the pivot. So I explained how the pivot is last element, then there will be j will be the one before that index, and L will be this one. Then each of them will be compared against the pivot value. And if AI is less than the pivot, it will be incremented, or if it is false, if AJ is greater than pivot, it will be incremented. If both of them are false, then those two elements will be swapped. So at last, what does the partition function do is, there will be elements towards left side of what is returned from this partition function or integer. Left side of that integer will be having values lower, and right side will be having values higher. That's what happens. So when compared with merge sort, this partition or division, there is both division and sorting. That's how it has avoided the merge operation or combine operation. So that is the end of today's lecture. So if you have any doubts regarding the session, you can raise any question if you have. Regarding quick sort or merge sort, anything. I will also share this lecture video with you in through LMS, and the presentation also, so you can study this later also. So if you have any doubts regarding today's content or merge sort, you can ask. Right, so the silence suggests that you don't have any questions. So in that case, we may wind up the session here. So I'll inform your representative on the next session, time and date, about the next session. So then we'll wind up the session here.